All right, here we go. Fnatic versus LNG. This is a huge game for Europe. We've got, to start off the draft, we've got LNG on the left. Poppy, Callista, and Lee Sin bans. Makes a lot of sense. Orianna, Rumble, Maokai. Okay, don't mind that. Early picks, we saw Xayah traded off for Renekton and Taliyah, which is kind of bizarre because by taking these, you're saying like, yeah, I'm very comfortable with Renekton as a blind pick, but I don't feel like you're getting enough from the draft. You're also giving up Rakan and Jarvan, which is exactly what LNG does. Now they also get to pick themselves counter picks later in the draft, and they didn't even address that in the rest of the draft here. Like, this is super bizarre to me. Yeah, this actually makes no sense. They're saying that Renekton has no counters, essentially. By drafting this way, you're declaring to the world that you think Renekton has no counters. You're leaving up Kennen is a big one. Kennen's a major counter, and I actually would have preferred to see this over Jax. Now, largely, when you already have Azir, you might be looking for someone else that is melee range, someone a little bit sturdier that can get into the fight to help Azir carry the game. And for that reason, you might not want Kennen. Then MR becomes very, very poignant against you. But you also can have the threat from Xayah as we go. So just compositionally, if we just look at our draft, our meta list, big win here from LNG. Getting the Xayah Rakan combination, getting Jarvan, getting Azir, getting Jax. Like, they've won on every stage here. Jax is fine into Renekton. It's not a counter pick. It's just solid. And you're saying going into the end game stages, right? 3 items, we're going to be totally fine. Now, one thing that you can do into this is take like Ignite and say, all right, I want to thwap you in lane, and I want to make sure that you can't outscale me inside lanes. The problem is that if you don't have teleport in a pro game, your team will get ripped apart with macro. They will just push you around the map. So it is basically mandatory to have teleport on both your solo laners. So this feels like a huge LNG draft win. We'll see how the game goes. All right, LNG is on blue side. No. What? Did they just flip the graphics on me? Okay, yeah, LNG's on blue side. Now, the thing that you do have going for you, Jace, Taliyah, Renekton, means you have a very nice like damage spread coming into this game. Ezreal's also a split damage type. He's mostly physical, but he has some magic damage in there. So you will be able to... it is hard to mitigate resistances against a team like this. But that being said, I just think that they're too far down the tier list. I think Jace is too weak here. I think Renekton isn't good enough. He's great, and there's a reason why you can blind pick him. But if you're going to blind pick him, you're much better off as red team doing that red 4, where you can then flex pick going to mid if you need to, playing against certain matchups there and just sustaining, or going up top. Or you say, I blind pick R4 so I can get counter pick R5, but they've really generated no advantages for themselves, right? They didn't even create like a Taliyah rel flex going here. Like Taliyah, I'm totally happy playing Taliyah into Azir, and then you could have gotten a better matchup here. You could have picked up like Ivern, for example. I would have preferred to see Ivern. Renekton is super deadly in the top lane as well, and then you have a lot of interaction you can go for. So anyways, I'm really disappointed in this draft. It feels like they're not going to be able to do much. If they do have strengths, the strengths that they're going to rely on is Ezreal stacking his passive in the early game, right? So level 1, Ezreal is one of the highest damage champions in the game. You can just keep on throwing your Q into the wave or throwing it at champions, even better. But sometimes in the wave first is even more important. You just get that, make sure that you get the push, make sure you get level 2. That's why we see Ezreal's getting a lot of respect at level 1. Then they'll go through the trough though, right? Once you go for tier Sheen, you're going to have a pretty big trough. Most of the teams have been going with the same exact build every single time. Triforce into Muramana. Like, scripted, it's fine. I really prefer the Ravenous Hydra approach on Ezreal because you get it earlier and then you can be left by yourself, and Rel can go and create numbers advantages across the map, and Ezreal can just push lanes very quickly, just stacking the tier at the same time, and then you wait for the rest of the build. Like, you don't need to be super, super strong for this fight. Now, sometimes if your team is looking to spike on dragons, for example, and this may be the case here, we're talking about Renekton, Jace, plus the wall from Taliyah, they may be saying, hey, we want to be stronger for every single dragon fight. But now you're playing against Xayah, Rakan with Jarvan, and Jax, who are all going to be very competent at that, even at that first dragon level. Azir Scoop being so deadly early in the game. You'll see as games approach that Azir sort of changes gears. The R becomes a peeling tool at the end game. In the mid game, it's a reposition tool, and in the early game, it's a engage tool. All right, and that's what's super cool about Azir, is that he gets to change how he plays. But it is important that you change the idea of how you go about it. I want to talk about this ward right here. Notice how Azir didn't just put it on this line. You need it to be out. Otherwise, a jungler, can hug this wall and still attack you. By putting it out there, you're getting it a little bit further. Means that there is no path that can exploit you. Not only that, but also by being in the range of the dot bush here, it means that if they do place a control ward there, you will know, all right? And so you'll have that advantage of knowing, yes, they get to see your ward, but your ward's going to be dying anyways. So letting it go and finding out that they have the control ward, it tends to be more valuable. Now, looking at this, we've got zombie ward plus the scuttle plus a ward behind raptors. Means that Jace is going to be hovering the right side of his lane as he comes over. J4 for some reason not finishing the camp, feeling a little bit of pressure there. I don't know why, because he's got this vision here. As we said in plenty of the other videos, this tournament, there's going to be so much Raptor prio. The camp is super easy to clear. It's near mid lane, and so you're going to see a lot of inside out gaming where they're going to be contesting these camps and then fighting through mid and using mid prio to get prio somewhere else on the map. Now Renekton finding an opening for himself. He's out, but now he does it in the face of the cooldowns. Jax's cooldown comes up, which means that this fails, and if this goes wrong, then everything has gone wrong for Fnatic. Good little movements by Tarzan, our namesake. Giving the kill, by the way, beautifully done. All right, wonderfully done. Give that kill to your laner. Jarvan scales on levels in the early game. He doesn't need gold. Azir needs a tremendous amount of gold. So anytime you can give that kill away to your solo laners, you absolutely want to do that. So very well done there. And that's backbreaking. That wave was coming in. Jax was able to go back and pick up the wave. Teleporting back in. Afterwards, he gets everything. Renekton's not going to, has lost out. The one advantage he has coming for him is that this wave is massive and coming to him, but Jax is going to hit 6 first. So this is a problem. Oscarin has to be, or Oscarine needs to be careful about Jax playing aggressively here, because he's going to hit 6 off this wave as he does right there. You see this advantage, that one minion, by the way, hit level 5. What is Razor holding his spells for? I don't know. Ooh, all right, so they do it in turn now. This is a big deal. The fact that Renekton was able to hit 6 before the engage. Again, these things are timers. Level up timers are so important in the pro game and in Elite ELO. You need to be tracking every single minion. You need to know exactly where your level up timers are so that you can create advantages without them being turned. Both of these times, dives were initiated on someone that was 95% of the way to the level. In that case, if you're that close to a level, it is absolutely worth your time to kill that minion to make sure that you get the level up. The increase in the stats is vital. Not only are all your spells better, but you gain the extra 100 health and the extra resistances. 100 health is better than any point in any skill that they've got, right? Most skills give somewhere between like 30 and 55 damage when you scale them up. You gain 100 health for leveling up, and you gain resistances, so it's not even close. Right, you're talking about multiple iterations of attacks before they can make up the difference for that level. So anytime you're close, absolutely take the moment to get the spike up. Renekton, one of the best champions in the game at doing it, and now you see that he's swung this lane and created a temporary advantage for himself. That monstrous wave that got pulled in means that he's 7 and 6. Jax will come back and he will get 7 off of this wave, but Renekton gets to play this for a moment and play for some advantage. Now you see here one of the effects. Minions used to be able to pull them off. If you haven't noticed this in your games ever since mid-season updates, Jax can no longer attack Renekton and get the minions to pull off of the turret. So you can walk away from turrets that have 5% left on the plate and expect them to finish. It also means that there's some new mannerisms that affect the pulls and what you can do to a minion wave. So if you haven't ever been aware of that, make sure you check it out. Try to play with it, see what things you can do. There are some new tricks coming out. There is a challenger player that we'll be doing a video on later that has climbed much higher this year than ever before, and he claims that it's simply by taking the minion wave and pulling it this way. Now that your minions can't be distracted from crashing, you can actually take their minions and kind of skip them over. And if that turns out to be something that is easily replicatable, it will change the pro meta game for sure, and there will have to be adaptations. One of which will be, all right, first step, let me pull the wave. Next step, that means, okay, I'm standing here. That means I'm in danger of a jungler. So now you have to have some amount of jungle synergy. When you can do it, you have to have some knowledge, but keep an eye out for that. We will let you know on this channel. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you can stay tuned. If a video on that comes to the surface, we will know first. Taking stock of the rest of the game, 9 minutes in, no, the Herald to be used, you want to use it in this window right now, pre-11, all right? You want to have it under 11 minutes because you want to create windows where your team has mythics, completed items, and enemy team doesn't, all right? Especially if you skip boots. If you end up for boots, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But if you're going straight for your item, let's say you've got magical footwear and you're going straight for that item, it makes a big difference for your ability to get that item. And if you have a completed, let's say completed Gore Drinker versus not completed Triforce, that can be a tremendous source of advantage, or vice versa, as it were, here with Divine Sunderer. Now, itemizing, mixed damage types. We see Merc Treads here. Not a huge fan of Merc Treads. In general, first against Azir, it's not as good as it is against Syndra. Against Syndra, it's stopping the follow-up damage. It's also stopping all of the chip damage. Azir can land their spells a little bit more reliably, but it is a fine starter item. Modal, right, lets you get in, lets you get out, lets you play offense and defense. And in this case, right, they're largely just trying to farm without getting poked away. Here's what you see with the turret. See how this... it doesn't stop, right? These minions continue hitting it. Renekton's actually trying to create a bit of a lead, and the fact that he went for that play and it went so horribly wrong, but he's still playing up tempo, is a very promising sign for them. 98 CS and these items means that we're going to go one crash, and he is most likely, with the 3 plates in pocket, going to go back and finish his Gore Drinker. He should have that, depending on whether or not he's missed any cannons. But 103 CS at 1045 like this, he probably has it done. Yeah, more than done. Gore Drinker plus the extra plates gives him this, so he's gotten all the major sources of gold. You see the scoop from the Azir shuffling in. Now Tarzan dropping the Herald right away. So there is a benefit to doing this, and that's making sure that the Herald dies, okay? Making sure that it dies and potentially that no one can come in and collect the gold for it. That does have a benefit, but in most cases, I'd rather come up here, chip that damage first, and then drop the Herald. That's the difference between getting 4 plates here and getting 3. All right, so this time we only got 3, and that's because he dropped the Herald right away. Scoop in, beautifully played, right into EQ, flash away, nice follow-up. Tarzan is ready and waiting for it. Now, with plates in pocket and 2 kills to his name, this should be a completed item here from Azir. It looks like they're leaning towards Landry's. Landry's being far and away the most popular on Azir because you're throwing the Q more often. You need to make sure that you get your Sand Soldiers out, get those in place and reposition them. Scout, no, not a newbie here. Scout, I want to say he's at his like 8th Worlds or 7th Worlds. He's been at the top of the Chinese game forever. Scout and Knight, they've been basically top 3 for almost a decade now. Gala has also been here plenty of times before. Tarzan, having come up with the Ku Tigers, became Rocks Tigers, and Griffin from them. So no, it was not part of Tigers. He was part of Griffin Gaming. But having ported over, this is something I did not expect to see from China. Once they had an all-Chinese team at Worlds, I'm very surprised that they're willing to pick up more Korean imports. There's a lot of nationalistic pride in China, but also the skill is there. They clearly have enough good players. It's very surprising that they'd be willing to take on a language barrier of any sort See this engage. Interesting combination there. Was that EQ missed? Or is it ERQ? Sometimes you go for ERQ. It's a little bit smoother and you make sure that you get the knockup because you're point blank. But sometimes being right next to them can also be a little bit challenging. Look for the amount of damage here. Yes, beautiful. Walking up, using the extra move speed, stepping up and getting that shuffle back. LNG taking it to their face right here. 4 people in the northern quadrant. Now, Jace is looking for a play in the bot. You see him teleporting into the southern quadrant. They're going to look. Fnatic's going to try to give the least here. Renekton should basically try to int for this wave so that they can't get the wave in. If the wave comes in, both of these guys will die. They're opting for a split here where Rel is going to stand a turret and Renekton's going to teleport out while they go for a play in the bot lane. The bot lane play does kill Gala, but it, yeah, all right, just nice heads up play by Jace going to this ward right here. Good foresight there from Fnatic, able to get something done cross map. Of course, anytime you're losing on one side of the map, you want to make a play on the other because they just necessarily can't be everywhere at the same time. Looked like, all right, J4 might have been trying to land them both there. But either way, it was enough to start the fight. Trimby coming in, dealing any amount of damage back, and Razork staying at all, and knocking them forward means that they're in position to get this follow-up kill. Rakan able to get the continuation, so really well, really nicely done by LNG. Love to see proactive play into the jungles. It is a tempo rift, guys. Tempo above everything. Now they didn't actually need all 4 people here. I would have preferred to see Jarvan go over and check for the gator. Of course, he doesn't want to get stunned up, locked up as a squishy champion. He hasn't built stacking resistances yet or stacking HP. Just sitting on Gore Drinker right now and Merc Dreads. But that said, the fact that they were able to muscle in north, recall, and then muscle in east means that we have some pointed weaknesses here from Fnatic. The only gold lead that they have is on this Renekton pick. And again, like, this didn't need to happen, right? This was a B5 Jax pick while Kennen was available. They easily could have gone Kennen as well and then been obliterating everywhere, right? They'd be winning across the map if they had that pick for themselves. But they're opting for that fight, right? They want to have better pressure in the end game. They want to make sure that, you know, Kennen can be exploited by Renekton with a flash and a, you know, bush advantage. Basically get right on top of him. You can basically almost one-shot him. And if you can generate enough threat where he has to use his ult in the side lane, then he's kind of useless into the team fight. So I see why they want Jax to kind of just have that middling effect. I'm pretty solid into Renekton. I'm pretty good, and I'll be so I'll definitely be strong in these fights. Jax is going to be one of the highest presence champions in the game. Basically, the top lane is so stagnant. It really feels like the champion pool is fairly stagnant at Worlds. I'm looking forward to see a little bit more deviation. We still haven't seen nearly enough Ashe. I'm sure that is going to pick up in Prio. We saw, I believe it was T1 or Gen G picked it up early and absolutely dominated with it. And that's the thing. You have to play Ashe aggressively and go for it. I expect to see more of those. But yeah, like, this is just too bland. Too bland. Jace just not that strong. Renekton's fine. Had a little bit of a nerf to his magic resist, making Jax that much stronger into him because all of his abilities deal magic now. And this was the big adaptation, right? Grasp. Grasp of the Undying lets you go in and just constantly poke for trades, use the empowered W for the extra long range attack, grab the minion aggro, create pushes. You can absolutely dominate at level 1. And then you just are strong and stacking as the game goes on, and eventually you will outscale. Now, looking for a point of strength, Fnatic is down 9-2. They need to try to find some sort of window for themselves. Here, what ended up happening? Disjointing, moving to the side. Noah puts E on cooldown, so he can never really feel aggressive here. And Tarzan recognizing that, going EQ forward, R backwards, clean up 2 kills for the team. Just disjointed. You'd like to see Renekton come over for that as well, right? Especially if you're coming off a recall. You could path this way and then look to go here if it comes, or you can join the fight if it comes up, right? If it's not an imminent danger to your turret or some major objective, I don't want to see people going straight back into lane like this. Most times you're much better off edging your bet, coming along this way, and then you've only lost 3 seconds on your travel time to top lane. But if you need to come here, you're 5 seconds ahead of, you know, making this sort of rotation. So anyways, Fnatic is down. They're going to try to find a point of strength. Right now, there isn't really. Renekton is the only one. Razork is getting gapped in the jungle right now. Jarvan, this is, he's as strong as he's going to be. Azir is 6-0 with the new crown and the Nashor's Tooth. So he's going to be ripping through his damage. You see him building defensively also. When you're ahead, you build a little bit more defensively. You say, I'm ahead. I'm already leading with level stats. I just need to make sure you can't kill me because over time I just will kill you. When you're behind, you look for a point of strength. You try to create enough strength to get like one punch in. That means that against a push like this, either you wedge into the middle of them and then try to collapse and try to get this engage, or you say, all right, we'll give you this strength and we'll try to collect one area of the map. They opt for option A, which is full engage, but they're going into the teeth of the maw and getting rocked. They do get Jax overplaying on the side, so Razork might feel pretty good here. They are going to collect this turret for themselves. It doesn't show up on the mini map, so Razork might get himself into a little bit of trouble, but of course that damage does very little. Even Azir, even with the changes to his turret, it's still basically a blank ability. Noah's hunting. Oh, yeah, just missed. Oh, Zaya left. Okay, good job. Good vision toggle there. Gala realizing that it was getting hot in the pot, gets out. Beautiful engage from Rel. Gala dodging it though. You do get some amount of damage onto Scout, but they have the self-peel and there's just no continuation here, right? You'd prefer, you see this. Imagine if they just let Jax come this way and all four of them came in, right? Don't play backwards at all. Just play forwards. See if you can get the maximum and then step back and then take on the Jax 4v1 if he decides to continue onto you. Kind of interesting from LNG that they pressed that far forward, not having that much vision, right? You do have this control ward here and the beginning of a push in bottom from Jax. I'd like to see them dot some more I's and cross some more T's, right? Like this is still up. The fact that there's still vision here, these were a problem. That said, they go straight back onto the map and they go and collect themselves a Baron. Rakan is doing a zoning engage. Has no ultimate available, saying, you know what, I can bite this for the team. I think he's just putting himself out there, willing to die. It's just your support. You don't really care about this. The extra levels don't really matter. You just want the resources on these champions right here. Now, something that we haven't spoken on much, but hidden power between Jarvan and Azir. Not only are we talking about the EQ combo, armor shred, just a nice physical and magic blend, but also you have an attack speed bonus coming from Jarvan, which affects Azir, right? So Azir can then go for significant damage upgrade with the E from Jarvan. This game also, we're looking at the armor shred. You only have one source of pure AD, apart from yourself. So you have these sources, and then Jax is going to be mixed, and then this is all AP. So wouldn't be surprised to see earlier points from Jarvan into the E. This game he goes for the standard 5 points in Q and then 4, going for the 5 in each second. 4.5k gold lead, dragon spawning in 3 minutes. They're going to go and push up. They're going to try to wedge into this area, get as much vision here by pushing up the lanes. So you start off lane push, lane push. Once the lanes give you vision, you step up, you gain vision here. Then you want to stack your waves. And by stacking your waves, you can now create imminent threat into multiple lanes at once and go. The process takes about 1.5 minutes, and Jace doing the correct answer, which is, let me go take the maximum. Sometimes you'd rather have it be Renekton doing this pushing, because Renekton can't really... He doesn't do anything in this siege situation. You're playing against Zaya and Azir. What is Renekton ever going to do? He's a certain amount of threat, stopping them from overplaying, but Jace would have been able to poke some damage out. I'd much rather have Jace in this situation and Renekton on the push to try to create that for themselves. Good attempt. I like the idea here from Talia. All right, proactive. Again, you want to land some punches. When you're losing, it's all about taking punches now. You have to swing your way out. Think of it as a boxer going into a scorecard where you're down for 15 rounds or 14 rounds and you go into the 15th. The only way you can win, you can't win by but with pugilism, you can't outbox the guy anymore. You have to knock him out. That is the only way you can win this game because you're down by enough. So they take their punch. I like it, right? Go for it. Almost get it. Look at the low health bars here. Almost. Oy, Gala with the flash. Phew. But I love it, right? That's what you want. You take your punch. You see what you can get. You're going to try to do it one more time. The opposite is to just bleed out. And in this case, you're the Jace and Renekton team. There's no way you're going to be scaling. Enemy team outranges you. They have more utility. They have more siege tools. Longer range, like everything in favor of LNG for ending this game. Plus, they have the best champions here for the end game in Azir and Jax if things turn into solo bouts. Cleanse, yeah, never even uses the R. So interesting from Gala opting to keep that as long as possible. Probably would have just preferred that he goes cleanse into an immediate R. Near shot there, near miss. Now, Fnatic was able to hold off on the turrets, okay? Their base structures are alive. This is a meaningless dragon. You do not get to approach this, all right? So I actually hate that Taliyah and Jace are even close to this. What you should be doing instead is taking strength here, try to get some amount of vision and a little bit of a push, and then you create beach wards, okay? And this combination means that you have some amount of advantage when the game shifts over to the Baron. Right now, you're in no danger of losing to dragons, okay? You already have 2. They're only getting D2 right now. It's a completely meaningless buff at this stage in the game. So when we're comparing like the stats, yes, all right, it's fine. It's a little bit thing, but are you really willing to take your punch right now into this area against blue team covering against this pit? It's kind of tough. Best play available to them will be let them take this area, instead get this push, and then move their way over here. We'll see if they go for that. Every step that they take in this direction is a miss. Yeah, this is a miss. Miss, miss, miss. Renekton and Taliyah are actively putting themselves in a bad position. Now just remember this, when you're playing in your solo queue games, just remember that even pro teams, world-class teams that are competing for a world championship, don't even do this right, okay? So don't get too angry at your teammates, right? They're not pros. They don't know. They either potentially don't know, or they're just less capable at seeing everything out in the fight. They do end up drawing into the open area. This is about the best case that they could have hoped for, which was to draw the fight. Oh no, Noah's gonna have to use his E, which means he's gonna get engaged on. Does ever slightly get away, but that means Azir's able to chunk them out, and now these guys are fish in a barrel. Going to be a tough situation for them to come back from. They may not even try to go for this. They are going to corral this pick, but they're going to do it very safely, right? Like this right here, the fact that Azir even got hit once opened up a possibility for Noah to take that down. Now, Noah has been a superstar for this team. By Noah, live or die is sort of the way that Fnatic's been playing much of the split. So, you know, if there's anyone that can make that happen, maybe he makes that happen. But like I said, right, you draw them out into the middle, you take them away from their vision corral. So this whole area, enemy team has vision of. They don't have anything here. In fact, you're the ones with vision. So there's a chance, even though you're just down by a significant amount of gold, this is one of the best chances for a fight that you're going to get. A couple things that are down for you, obviously the wallet disadvantage. Also, this turret being here is a pretty big disadvantage, means that there's one direction that enemy team can take for safety that you can't chase in effectively. So still, obviously, super LNG favored. But if you're talking about finding your punch and going for that one haymaker, that's your chance. I like what Fnatic did to build. What I don't like is the minute and a half that they spent posturing in this area. Now, sometimes it is important to posture. I will give you that. All right. By posturing, you're kind of leaning one way. It's just like jabbing, right? The jab isn't the knockout. It's a, hey, look, I've got this thing. You know, maybe I can hurt you. Maybe I can hurt you. I can't really hurt you, but maybe I can hurt you. This is the one I'm trying to set up. The more I can get you to think about this, maybe this lane's bigger. So that much can be true by putting Renekton over here, kind of showing the left, showing the jab. It makes them think. It makes them pay attention to what's happening up here. And then you can solidify a little bit more advantage on their side, on their flank. They end up coming into your strongest punch. So that much could be good if they're doing that on purpose. That is fantastic. All right, turret defense. Going for full sieges. You've got Talia. Not particularly good into the Baron buff, but Ezreal's fine. Ezreal has a tough time with his AoE. And like we said, with here, everyone's been building the same build on Ezreal that cannot clear waves. And they've been putting themselves into this trough. Now, it's true Ravenous Hydra is nowhere near as good as it was in the preseason, but that doesn't mean that it still doesn't accomplish an important role for you. Constantly being full health, constantly being able to keep waves pushed is something that Ezreal is looking to do. Oh, multiple dashes. Renekton actually gets double bopped up by the wall. That was kind of crazy. Look at the bounce house and LNG playing Geometry Wars with the corpses of Fnatic. Very nicely done. We see the power of knockups, right? And why these pro teams prioritize knockups above everything else. Cannot be resisted. Oh, nice little scoop, shuffle forward, Luden's proc at the end, and a wonderful game from LNG. Looking very, very strong.